Ever try to like ask Google something and it just sends you down a rabbit hole of sourdough bread recipes? And you're like, no, Google, I wanted to know the history of sourdough, not how to make it. It's like sometimes it's like they just don't get us, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But what if we could actually speak AI's language? What if we could understand how to communicate with these digital brains in a way that actually gets us the results we're looking for?
Right.
Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
There's this really cool article from Siberoloji. It's called The Art of Asking.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just published today, actually. And, Siberology, they're all over the place with their content. One day it's like, hardcore coding stuff. The next day it's like the best YouTube channels to watch. But today, it's all about AI.
Nice, nice.
And not just like, surface level stuff. This is about really understanding how to make AI work for us.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely.
And we're not just talking about, getting your smart speaker to tell you a joke. This is about prepping for a future where AI is everywhere, right?
Exactly. And that's, I think, what's so crucial about this article. It really gets to the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about understanding AI, both its potential, but also, crucially, its limitations. We're joined by someone, by the way, who lives and breathes this stuff, so you're in good hands.
The algorithm whisperer.
Guilty as charged. But you're right, this article doesn't waste any time getting to the good stuff.
Okay.
Because, it's easy to get caught up in the hype thinking AI is this magic bullet.
Right.
But we got to be realistic about what it can and, more importantly, what it can't do.
Right, because it's easy to think, oh, AI, it's so smart. But then you ask it to, explain a joke and it just completely falls apart.
Exactly. And, that's because at its core, AI, it thrives on data. Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing at recognizing patterns, processing information at lightning speed. It can even mimic human language in a way that's kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't have is that real-world understanding, that common sense that we as humans develop just by, living life.
Yeah.
And the article, it gives this really great example. It says, don't just ask AI, like, what's the best way to handle this? Without giving it any context.
Oh, that's so true.
Right. It's like going to a doctor and just being like, I feel weird, fix it.
Right. I don't feel good. That's it. No other information.
Exactly. They need the whole story,
Yeah.
right? They need symptoms. They need history. They need to know what you ate for breakfast. AI, it's kind of the same way.
So we need to give AI the backstory.
We do. And to do that, it helps to understand a bit about how it actually learns. Essentially, it's all about the data it's fed. Think of it like a giant library.
Okay, yeah.
Filled with text, code, all sorts of information. And AI, it devours this stuff. It uses it to recognize patterns, to make connections. But if that library doesn't have any books on, say, human emotions or the complexities of social situations, then AI is going to be clueless when it comes to those things.
So it's not that AI is intentionally being difficult. It's just that it only knows what it's been taught.
Exactly. And that's why the way we communicate with it matters so much. It's about bridging that gap between human understanding and AI's, let's call it, data-driven perspective.
Okay, so we're basically learning to speak AI.
In a way, yes.
Sign me up for that class. Where do we even begin?
Well, luckily, the article gives us some pretty good pointers. And it all starts with, being specific.
Okay.
It sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how often we ask AI these vague, open-ended questions, almost like we expect it to read our minds or something.
Oh, yeah. No, I do that all the time. I'll ask my smart speaker to play some music I like. It has any idea.
Right, exactly. And that's where that whole common sense thing comes back to bite us, right?
Okay.
Because AI, it needs clear instructions.
Okay.
Think of it like programming a computer. You tell a computer to do something, well, it's not going to know where to start. But if you give it a specific command, like add these two numbers together, then boom, it can do it flawlessly.
So it's about being really clear and direct with our language.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, tell me about the weather, it's like, what's the forecast for San Francisco tomorrow afternoon?
Perfect example. Because now the AI knows exactly what you're asking.
Yeah.
It can tap into its giant database of information.
Right.
And give you a precise, relevant answer. And the article, it talks about the importance of providing context, too, which I think is really interesting. Because remember, AI, it doesn't have those everyday experiences that we take for granted.
Right.
So if you're trying to get AI to help you solve a problem, don't just tell it the problem. Explain the situation. Give it the background information it needs to understand what you're talking about.
Oh, like it's like when you go to a mechanic. You can't just say, my car's making a weird noise. They're going to be
Right.
like, well, what kind of weird noise?
Exactly. They need to know, is it a clunk, a grind, a whistle? When does it happen?
Right.
All those details, that context, it's essential for them to diagnose the problem accurately.
So it's like we're kind of giving AI a crash course in being human.
Yes.
Like helping it see the bigger picture.
Exactly. We're filling in the gaps that its data might not cover. And, speaking of gaps, the article also brings up this idea of breaking down complex questions,
Okay.
which, again, sounds kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, I mean...
You'd think you want to ask AI the big, juicy questions, get the most bang for your buck. But it turns out that's not always the best approach.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Because AI, it actually works best with concise, focused queries. So instead of asking for like a summary of an entire book, maybe try focusing on a specific chapter or even just a single theme.
So it's not about limiting our curiosity. It's just about being smart about how we use AI to explore that curiosity.
Exactly. And once we've got those fundamentals down, that's when things start to get really, really interesting.
Okay. How so?
Because now we can move beyond just asking questions and start actually shaping AI's output. And that's where this whole idea of prompting comes in.
Okay, so we've talked about AI's limitations. We've talked about asking the right questions. But now we're getting to the fun stuff. I'm ready to unlock my inner AI whisperer here. What do I need to know about prompting? It's like we're not just ordering takeout anymore, right? We're like stepping into the kitchen. We're creating the menu ourselves.
I love that analogy because, yeah, with prompting, we're moving beyond just asking AI to fetch information for us. We're actually getting it to generate something new, something original.
Okay. So like we're giving it the ingredients, we're giving it some instructions, and then boom, it whips up something amazing.
Exactly. It's like, it's like giving an artist a brief for a masterpiece, right?
Okay.
If you just tell an artist, paint a picture, you're going to get something very different than if you give them the specific colors you want them to use.
Right.
Subjects, emotions you want to evoke.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
The more detailed and specific you are with your prompt, the better the AI can understand your vision.
So with AI, it's not enough to just say, like, write me a poem. We need to be thinking about style, theme, maybe even giving it some keywords to play with.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really, really cool because we're not just talking about getting AI to write poems or stories for us. Prompting, it can be used for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like problem solving, brainstorming new ideas, even composing music.
Wow. Okay. I did not realize it was that broad.
Oh yeah, the possibilities are pretty much endless. And the article mentions this one technique that I find particularly fascinating, which is role-playing.
Role-play. Okay.
Yeah, you basically tell the AI to, like, put on a hat, take on a specific persona, and then you interact with it from that perspective.
So, like, I could be like, you are now a marketing consultant. Give me some advice.
Exactly. Or you are a chef. Create me a recipe using these ingredients.
Okay.
The AI, it taps into that persona, and suddenly you're having a much richer, more creative conversation.
That's really cool. And the article, they also talk about this thing called setting constraints, which at first seems a little bit strange.
I know, right? You'd think giving AI more freedom would lead to more creativity, right?
Right, exactly.
But it turns out there's something about limitations that can actually spark innovation.
It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
There you go. Exactly. And, the same principle, it applies to AI. By setting some constraints, like maybe limiting the number of words it can use, or giving it a specific rhyme scheme for a poem,
Okay.
you're basically forcing it to think outside the box. And that can lead to some really surprising results.
So if I'm like trying to come up with a slogan for my business, I could tell the AI like, okay, I need a slogan. It has to be catchy, but you can only use these 3 words.
Exactly. You're setting those boundaries. And within those boundaries, the AI is free to be as creative as possible. And the results, you might be surprised, they're often more original, more memorable.
This has been so interesting. I feel like before this article, I was really only scratching the surface of what AI can do.
It really is amazing, isn't it? And the thing is, we're still so early in the game. Like, AI is still evolving. It's still learning.
Right.
So who knows what we'll be able to do with it 5, 10 years down the line.
It's really exciting.
It is. It's exciting, but it's also a little bit daunting, right?
Yeah.
Because this is powerful technology we're talking about.
Yeah.
And with great power comes great responsibility, right?
That's true. So what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. AI, it's a tool. It's a powerful tool, but it's still a tool. Ultimately, we're the ones in control. We're the ones who decide how to use it, how to shape it. And the more we understand about how it works, the better equipped we'll be to use it responsibly, to create things that benefit humanity, to solve problems, to make the world a better place.
I love that. So the next time you're interacting with AI, whether it's a search engine or a writing tool or even just your smart speaker, remember what we talked about today? Be curious, experiment, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions. Who knows what amazing things you might discover?